Jai Gurudev. In this session, we'll continue with the Vairagya chapter of Yog Vaasishthha. Last time we saw Sri Ram, he started expressing his state of mind and why he was feeling very dispassionate about the worldly life. He elaborated on few factors such as the wealth, the time, the body, the other body, and so many other factors, the cycles of age, and so many other things. So we'll start looking into each of them in a bit details this time. So in this session, we will cover four things that Sri Ram talked about as a part of Vairagya. First, he mentioned about the wealth, which is called as Lakshmi. He mentioned Lakshmi or wealth is something where people feel that there is real happiness if one has a lot of wealth. However, that is not something true, or that is not something he agrees. Sri Ramji says that people do so many things to get the wealth, assuming that they are going to get happiness and freedom after getting wealth. What they don't do, right? They go after money. So in that whole thing, they stay away from the families, right? There are fights that happen within the families, and they spend all the time against getting the wealth, but still they don't find happiness. They keep on running for the entire life after the wealth, but nowhere the happiness comes, nowhere the freedom comes. In fact, this wealth, it actually binds them. Instead of giving freedom, it binds, and it also brings worries, right? Nobody typically who is very wealthy is free of worries. In fact, when you get wealth, the worries also follow the wealth. And that is what Sri Ramji says, that this is something that I can't believe, that people assume that they are going to get freedom, but after wealth they don't get. In fact, they get bound to the wealth. So how can wealth give somebody permanent happiness, right? So he simply junks this concept that with wealth one can get happiness. The second factor he talks about is one's own body. He says people love their own body so much, right? Assuming that this body is themselves, right? If I think I am myself, what am I? I consider myself as my own body. They love their body so much, and that in that whole thing, they just forget that this body is actually going to dump them someday. This body is going to leave oneself. And what is this body? This body is, if you see, if you cut it open, you'll see it is full of flesh, blood, sweat, and whatnot. All unwanted things filled up in this body. How can this body be really so lovable? But we spend whole life loving it. And if one again sees, this body also is full of diseases. That is the fact, right? Those diseases don't come up, but sometime after an old age or so, one starts seeing those diseases. Or if the immunity goes down, the diseases they come out. Now, how do you love this body which is going to dump you? He says, if I put my all efforts on maintaining this body, still there is no chance that I'll still be young always, and I'll be charming, and I would look lovable and handsome for all the time throughout the life. Sometime old age is going to overcome me, and that is how it would be. Someday I am going to die. Then why should I love this body? And why should then I rely on this body, seeking that I will be having happiness and freedom, right? That doesn't seem to be good. So people, he said that people, they love their body so much and they do so many things, assuming that they are going to get lot of happiness from the body. But that doesn't seem to be true. So he mentioned two things, right? The wealth and body, own body, where he is not finding happiness at all. The third thing he mentions is lust. He says lust is something that overshadows one's mind and makes him run after a woman. Now, though he has mentioned woman, it is something applicable to men and women both in both the sides, because lust is there for both of them. So he says, though we are using woman, please understand it is also for the other side. So he says, man runs after woman, assuming that there he is going to have lot of pleasure and he is going to get happiness from a woman. Now, again, there also he says that if at all there is any happiness, that's momentary. How long would one be able to have lived under the influence of lust? Its duration, its life is very small. After that, again, one has to return to the realities of life. And again, there face the unhappiness, the unpleasant things, the bondage. And there is where he says, I don't see a permanent source of happiness through lust or in a woman. Additionally, he also mentions that if you look at that body as well, a woman, what is it? Again, there is probably some charm today, but it cannot be permanent. After some time, again, that body is going to have wrinkles, that body is going to be deteriorated, and then you can't actually touch that body. You don't think of or you don't like to touch that body. You reach that state. So, where is the happiness again? These three things he mentioned. And finally, he mentions one more thing, and that thing is time. A very important aspect of our life. If you see, we have been planning for so many things throughout our life, and what we assume, right, in this whole process, that I'm going to live so long and I'm not going to die at all, or maybe I'll die after a very, very old age. Sri Ram says, I am not assured of this time factor because I have seen people dying at various ages. There is no guarantee of time. If I want to give my personal example, not Sri Ram, as Yateen Joshi, if I want to give my personal example, when I have been in job and I used to do these meditations and I also used to be in some service projects. Few of my colleagues, they would come and ask me that, Yatin, why are you doing these things, right? You are young, you are supposed to work hard, you are supposed to earn money, and you are supposed to enjoy all these things like spirituality, meditations, service projects, right? These are something that you can do after you are retired, after the age of 60 when you retire. And I used to jokingly tell them that, look, somebody is maybe willing to retire at 60 and do something. He may be assured of living until then and doing the rest of the things. He may be assured of his body conditions after that. But that's not something that I believe in. I'm not really assured of time. So whatever good things I have to do, I'll do right away. Who knows, I may be retiring early, right? God might make me retire early. So instead of that, waiting till then and then dying with a surprise on face, right? And maybe some bit of regret that I wanted to do few things but could not do. Let me now do whatever I can do. And I'll also live my life. I'll have my job and I'll do some things for earning money and so many things. But also these essential things I will try to do in small chunks, or however is possible, I'll try to do those parallelly. So this one thing Sri Ram he mentions, and it is very true. We plan so many things in our life. In fact, we also fight and we don't want to talk to people. Those are really very dear to us. We have been in long relationship with them. But the way we say, okay, I'll not talk to you for your lifetime, or I'll not talk to you for my lifetime, we never know whose life is going to get over soon. Correct? So this is one thing, that any decisions, any fights or any plan that we make, Sri Ram says, we always assume that I'll be living indefinitely. There is no death for me. And he wonders how can people live like that, because there is no guarantee of death. With this, with these four things, he tells the Rishi Vishwamitra and Rishi Vasishtha that I don't find any, again, reason to live, because there is no happiness whatsoever anywhere. I'm not finding it. And then he again mentions a few more things that we'll cover in our next session. Until then, please keep subscribed to this channel of Yoga Vaasishthha, and there is a bell icon next to the subscribe button. Just click that so that you get the notifications of next channels that are next videos that get uploaded on this channel. Thank you so much. Jai Gurudev.